everyone, welcome to the Dread and the Shabin, a podcast looking to inform, inspire, and positively impact. I'm your host, Tikia John Baptiste, alongside,
Delaware to the dread.
yes. So today we're just going to be talking about various hot topics currently going around. And one of those topics, which is probably the most important, is about what's currently going on in terms of garbage collection and what may seem to be the result of that, and what's currently going on at the hospital.
Troubling situation, yes, yes.
I mean, my friend told me that we actually have one garbage truck.
Yeah, one garbage truck, and well, it's not even up. It's not even. It's a privately owned truck, actually. So the country itself, internally, doesn't have a functioning truck, a garbage truck, in terms of what a garbage truck actually looks like. So what you find is normal trucks, tipper trucks going around collecting garbage.
Wow.
Yeah.
So she was telling me that when it fell into
Did you see?
we see that, now we have no garbage collecting going on.
I know
But
there's garbage collection going on, but not by a garbage truck,
okay.
by normal tipper trucks. Yeah.
Oh,
As those,
oh yeah.
as those dumb trucks. Yeah.
Because I was saying even before that situation happened, so many times I was hearing people complaining about the rubbish truck not passing, in various areas of the country. So I'm saying even before that happened with the truck falling in the sea, we had the issue of garbage collection.
Yeah, it has been a troubling issue for a while now. In terms of, well, not just the garbage collection, but how do we store garbage? When do we put it out? The whole system, I think, needs some revamping. But yes, garbage collection has been an issue. I know there are certain communities that wait, they already wait weeks before the garbage can be collected. I think that is a worrying situation for a number of reasons, especially public health.
But what exactly is the reason for that? Why
Well, no trucks. The plain and simple, maybe no trucks. There are no trucks, no garbage trucks per se. Those owned by the Dominica Solid Waste Management Corporation, they are not in rotation. I guess because they haven't been repaired or broken down. They have no trucks, no new trucks being purchased. And like we said earlier, there was one privately owned truck, and it ended up in the sea. But it's no longer in the sea, so hopefully, it's back on the road doing garbage collection. I'm not too sure if it's actually back yet, but it is a worrying situation for an entire island to not have a garbage collection system. It's really troubling, particularly because of nature of our country. Our country is a very forested country. There's lots of place for rats and cockroaches and all other types of pests to to proliferate. Sorry, to breed. So yeah, that just leaves us in a precarious situation.
but then I wondering like what being done about that. I mean, other people when they want to get something done, they would usually protest or something. So if it's the case where Dominica solid waste, not probably getting the response they want from the government, I don't know, maybe they should have their own protest or something.
Well, I'm not too sure if management or if the workers or I'd say are up to the quote unquote protest. But maybe there's other ways in which they can actually raise the necessary funds to maybe repair the trucks or purchase new trucks. Like I said, the situation has been ongoing for a while now. They hired a private truck to assist, but like it's just not sufficient to handle the kind of load in terms of garbage that the entire country has. And yes, a situation like that should be have been addressed a long time. I believe I stand firm in that belief. As to whether or not the management of solid waste is, or even the employees themselves have the fortitude to do that. I don't think so. I think maybe at a village or community level, maybe even at a national level, a protest like that might be more felt, heartfelt. But do the people want to protest for that?
Well, I'm thinking like, things so, not done in a proper way here that they don't even feel the need to update the public about the situation and what's going on, and whether or not they, even right now, even to say like maybe they even order trucks and we don't know, but like, just kind of keeping people in the loop and letting people know what's going on. I haven't really seen anything like that.
No, I haven't gotten any news, any notification about trucks being ordered. I haven't seen any press releases of that such. But we sort of have accepted the situation as is because it's been ongoing for a while. It's not a yesterday issue. It's not last year. It's been a number of years now since we haven't had adequate trucks, and that we've been using the tipper trucks, and so people just seem to have accepted the fact that the tipper trucks will do the work. Whether or not it's adequate for that type of work is another thing because tipper trucks don't give any real protection. Garbage can still fly out while they're transporting it. The leachate from the garbage is also not disposed of properly, and the workers themselves have no real protection while doing the work. They are standing in the garbage on the back of the trucks. So yeah, most times you see them, they don't have the adequate protection. They don't have the gloves. They don't have the mask. I was told that they provide them with the mask, but the workers themselves don't feel comfortable wearing them. So I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not too sure what can be done, but I mean, if they, were maybe updating the public about the situation, they never know. Maybe, um, if it's private entities, would they reach out to them and say, you know, how they could lend a hand or something? But they're not really letting anyone know anything. They just,
Well, I would say in terms of what can be done is a total revamp of of the situation of the company, the situation. I mean, there are funds that we collect that they are called the environmental levy that should go towards things like maintaining solid waste. There is no billing system for garbage, or it's not an adequate billing system. It's not a comprehensive billing system. So not even if they bill, some people will not pay the bills. So the system needs to be revamped. I think a collective approach, the best way I believe in terms of providing a service like that would be to actually bill people. You bill for garbage disposal. Why don't you bill them through their light bills or their water bills? I add an additional flat rate, maybe a $10 or $15 per household rate for garbage that goes towards garbage disposal. How do you collect that money from the different companies? So, for instance, if I add it onto the Lowasco bill, Lowasco does have to provide the funds to Dominica Solid Waste Management. There is no billing system directly from solid waste. Maybe that needs to get into a system for billing, and but in terms of how they collect garbage, it's not like they go have to go from household to household. It's street corner collection. So that in itself, how do you know who is putting the garbage out on the streets? Maybe in smaller villages it may be simpler to do that, but in the city and so forth, or in larger communities where they have roadside collection and not individual house collection, it it's different. It's difficult. Maybe just a flat rate across the board added to your water bill would be really the simplest thing. But not everybody has potable water, neither at their homes, or some. Um, yeah, some persons that probably have, if, for instance, if you're in a housing complex, there are
Yeah.
multiple tenants. What rate do you pay? You understand? In terms of garbage collection. So, but yes, somebody needs to look at the system and improve the system. When I wouldn't call for an increase in the environmental levy because the levy itself still doesn't go towards solid waste. So maybe that is where we need to start in terms of getting ensuring that solid waste actually gets part part of their environmental levy so they can use it for their maintenance. And how does a company like solid waste generate funds to maintain the equipment, the machinery, and to pay staff? So that too has to come into grasp. I think as a community, we need to start paying for things. Certain things we're just not paying for, and we need to pay for. In fact, persons may say, "Boy, we are a small country and things tight and so forth." But if we pay for garbage collection, improve our public health, and then there will be less issues that we have to deal with in terms of pest and disease, leptospirosis, all those type of other things that can come in as a result of poor garbage disposal.
Yeah, because I see that they said, well, I heard that apparently three people died from leptospirosis so far for the year.
And I'm not too sure about the actual figures, but I did see a release about leptospirosis, and in terms of there being cases. I mean, I think there's probably always been cases, but I mean, in terms of it being a public concern, I think now it is a public concern because of the issue with the garbage, the fact that rats are roaming the streets willy nilly. There's not been a baiting program for a while. So, in terms of the population, I think we need to reduce the population of rats and mice, well, vermin in total that can spread leptospirosis to humans.
And I mean, to make it worse, the hospital still does not seem to have basic tools and stuff that they need. And we're seeing people going there dying when, it might be the case where they could have probably been saved, they could have probably been okay. At this point, if I was back home and I was sick, I wouldn't even see the sense of going to the hospital.
But in terms of what you seek with him, you are forced to go to the hospital. For instance, if you catch leptospirosis, the only place you can go for treatment is at the hospital. Um, so I don't know how to say it, but you almost caught between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah,
When,
because even when they go to the hospital, I mean, do they even have what they need to treat leptospirosis?
well, I don't know. To be honest, I do not know in terms of what they actually need. I do know that they can test for it, so that's a start. I don't know whether what they can treat it. I do not know. But it all depends on how quickly you respond to get the signs of leptospirosis. So if you're quickly aware of the situation and you seek medical help, every minute counts when it comes to leptospirosis. In terms of agriculture, that I can speak to that. We try to tell our farmers as soon as you sense anything wrong and you realize it could be that you go to seek medical care. Do not wait. Do not wait. A few years ago, about 10 years ago, my boss actually at the time died from leptospirosis because he contacted it in agriculture, and so we've been on high alert from that aspect. Um, I can personally speak to a few 2 months ago. I went to visit a farm in the Portsmouth area, and I got the farmer gave me some bananas, and I ate the bananas. But in the back of my mind, I was like, "Boy, I'm not the bananas. I'm not too sure where the bananas were stored. Should I have taken that chance?" And I was telling, if anything happened to me, if I catch a fever or anything, any sign, first thing to do is just rush me to the hospital. Don't ask me what I thinking, just rush me to the hospital because yeah, at the end of the day, you have to be careful about the situation that you put yourself in, and you have to know how to respond. So if anybody thinks if you think you're coming down with a fever and you're not too sure as to the source of the fever, the first thing I would tell you is to seek medical attention. Go to the hospital or the nearest health center. Don't take any chances, to be honest, because the situation with rats and other vermin in Dominica, especially in relation to our garbage collection, I think it needs urgent attention. So go to and seek medical attention as soon as possible.
Yeah, right now everyone should be on really high alert, operate like COVID, after everything, wash your hands and
That's right, and don't leave food stuff on your tables and in the open kitchen overnight. Store them away. Ensure that when
yeah,
you eating fresh fruit, you wash them. You wash it, wash the skin. Yeah.
wash everything, clean all the
Yeah, yes, wash
surfaces of your
please.
kitchen.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And you can look around your house for signs of areas of possible rat entry. So you can secure your house. Just try to make it as rat proof or as mice proof as possible. And take it upon yourself to do some baiting. Go to the supermarkets, go to the hardware stores, purchase rat baits, put it in the yard, spread it. Make sure it doesn't get wet. So put it in an area where it stays dry, area where you finger rats traverse, and then yeah, take
Yeah,
that take matters into your own hands. Do not wait on the authorities to do any baiting for you. Particularly if you live in an area where you know that the community disposes of the garbage waiting for the trucks. As you
yeah,
know, like I mentioned earlier, we do street collection, so sometimes you innocently, your house is very clean, you innocently, I'm doing what you're supposed to do. But because people pile garbage against your wall, you find your yard is a venue for rats having their CO. So yeah, you have to do your baiting. You
yeah.
can
But a good thing people can probably try to do, like villages, if they're seeing like the garbage truck taking really long to come by, if they can have a meeting as a community and say, okay, everybody contribute a certain amount and they pay, you know, a truck to
Yeah, there are
get
communities
the
that
garbage.
do. There are communities that do that in Dominica that have the a private truck coming and taking the garbage. They took this decision on their own from the village council's perspective. There are other things that we can also do to reduce our level of waste. Composting. We need to do a lot more composting of our fresh fruits and vegetable peelings so that it doesn't end up in the landfills. We can also do a lot of sorting of our garbage, plastics, papers,
Yeah.
and so forth. That's
We
one thing
used
I
to do
think.
that before and that just stopped.
No, they still do it. Sorry, they still collect bottles and so forth. But it's just that it's not on an individual basis. I know they do it from companies and so. But in terms of the individual families doing the sorting, I think we should go back to that. I remember a few years ago they distributed these blue tubs.
The blue tubs, yeah.
Yeah, we
We
can
have
actually.
them in Baffin State, but the truck that used to do the recycling, they doesn't really pass like that anymore.
Right, right, exactly. So we need to revamp that system so we can do a lot more of the recycling, sorting and shipping some of the material out. From what I remember, our landfill in a few years it will be past capacity. So we may need to find a new location for a landfill very very soon. So all those things will help to extend the life of the landfill. Um, yeah, definitely need to address that as a public health concern.
Yeah, Navy landfill is actually very close to the sea, and they seem to be. I think they just do recycling, but they also seem to be burning it.
Well, I wouldn't encourage burning of garbage for particular reasons because we don't really sort our garbage. So there'll be too much
Yeah,
plastic and so forth in the garbage. If we were sorting the garbage and so forth, then maybe, and I would probably do some controlled burning in terms of incinerators, have some huge incinerators where we can control the burning. Because I foresee some difficulty, particularly in relation to our landfill is located, if burning is taken into consideration, because you have a
Yeah,
state
in the
college,
village there.
you have the state college there, you have the Dominica prison there, you have this football facility, plus two communities. It's in a valley between two communities, so Stock from and Ponkole. So I don't think if that's the ideal place to encourage burning of garbage. But if control burning, yes, but not any wild burning. Yeah.
I think they should definitely get a different venue away from the communities and find a way to recycle garbage and so on, and find a way
Yeah, I think a
to get
massive
rid of
recycling program, upcycling as well. Can do some upcycling. I think that's not much of a focus here. But besides using tires to do flower pots and so forth, there's not much upcycling being done in Dominica. So that's something we can also look into. There are a lot of things we put into the garbage that we necessarily is garbage or is not garbage for a landfill that I might go say. And even in terms of collection of white goods, damaged white goods, and so forth from households. I think we can probably do a little bit better in that aspect in terms of collection and disposal. Whether it be disposal overseas or locally, stripping of those white goods too, because there are some white goods that have what do you call it, POPs, persistent organic pollutants. So we have to be able to store to dispose of that properly, and there are all some protocols for those things. So yeah. Um,
it. Have countries that actually take garbage from other countries because
yes, yes,
themselves using it to for energy. So I
right.
mean, maybe that is something to look into as well in order to just make sure the landfill um, doesn't get too full
Overcapacity.
and whatnot. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Yes,
yeah,
there are countries
that.
that burn garbage in terms of but like I said, it's controlled burning. It's not willy nilly burning. So yeah,
Yeah,
Dominicans are
the one is for for to generate
heat
electricity
for
and
electricity,
whatnot.
right? Yeah. I think we have to be clear because Dominicans like to burn for whatever reason we like to burn garbage in our yards and so forth. So yeah, I don't want to get that message out and people persons misconstrue and we're asking them to burn garbage, leave it to the authorities who have the particular machinery and so forth, an incinerator in fact, whether it be a small one or a commercial size incinerator. So yeah, but the situation is dire, not just for the garbage, but everything that comes with garbage, the mosquitoes, the rats, and so forth. Even midges, they say midges love decaying material. So yeah, yeah. And we have
Yeah.
a situation with biting midges in Dominica that can be very troubling for locals as well as tourists. So yeah.
Yes, and furthermore, there was this article that was well, a report article that was released concerning Dominica's economy by the IMF, where they say that Dominica's economy has continued its expansion, that real GDP grew by 3.5% in 2004, supported by a recovery in tourism and targeted development investment to boost economic capacity and competitiveness. Now, I mean, outside people might see this and think, that's good and whatnot, but us in Dominica, we're listening to that and we're checking it, and we just kind of flabbergasted because it's like, okay, if we really had some level of growth, how come we cannot see it in the actual economy?
Well, it's GDP growth, and because you can have GDP growth and not have individual growth among the people. Because GDP is not really although it's I'd say a way to analyze the economy, but you can have GDP growth and not growth within the salaries of the people of the country. So yes, the indicators of the economy show growth. Yes, no problem. Yes, we have a few or I'd say construction going on. There's there was an increase in tourism. So you will find GDP growth in relation to that. You'll but at the end of the day, whether or not that GDP growth is it trickles down to the everyday citizen. That is what we're not measuring. So it may very well be that we have in GDP growth based on the things that they are measuring, the indicators that they're measuring, and we have to also say check to see from what's in terms of okay GDP growth as opposed to Hurricane Maria, pre-Maria levels, or that type of
Yeah.
thing. But yes, if the indicators say that there's GDP growth because these people take hours, months and months of analysis of the data to come up with it's not just guessing it. So it's yeah. So it's the only way the report is wrong is if the data is wrong.
Well, I'm
So
not saying it wrong, but I'm saying like for the average Dominican who maybe not
well, it's difficult to feel GDP growth. That's what I'm saying. It's very difficult for the individuals to feel GDP growth unless there is some mass redistribution of wealth. Because the quote unquote the upper 1% can feel all the growth, and the rest of the community
right.
doesn't trickle down. So, but there doesn't mean it's not growth. There's growth, but the people not feeling it because they are not the ones in direct benefit of that growth. The growth is really felt among those who own businesses, and not small businesses, not the major businesses I am talking, and those who are involved in the major industries. So yeah, if you are, for instance, I don't want to this any sector, but if your sector is not contributing in terms of um, foreign exchange and so forth, you may not feel that growth. But
Okay.
there is growth because the indicators that are being measured say that there is growth, and the data supports it. For instance, let's look at Carnival that past year. That was one of the biggest carnivals we've had, and everybody
Right.
everybody says that, and they say that based on the numbers, $15 million or how much millions of dollars were brought into the economy. But if you're not necessarily directly involved in carnival, you would not feel that money
Yeah.
circulate. So if you're 7 days and you stay at your home for carnival, money doesn't touch you. But
Right.
if you're directly involved in carnival, then you'll feel the impact of more persons in the band, and so forth. You will feel that impact. So it's a similar thing. If you're not involved in the sectors that are bringing foreign exchange, then you may not necessarily feel the impact of increased tourism and so forth. But that doesn't mean that the economy did not grow. It did grow, but your sector or your area of impact wasn't touched. That's
Yeah.
that simply it.
I feel like I mean obviously it's good for us to have growth, but I my concern is that for people who again don't really understand those things, I think it's important to have someone speak to them about these things and help them understand again why we should probably be looking for change in order for everyone to kind of see the growth, right? So, for example, like the National Youth Council, I know they probably did like one or two stuff, but I feel like they could probably do more to actually reach out to the
Well,
young
first,
people
first,
in
first
terms of
things first. Not everybody will never feel the change or the growth. To be honest, in every country, you always hear them mention that there's growth or there's constriction, and it's just not everybody will feel it because, like I was saying, a 1% growth in the economy may not impact who's on the ground, but it impact the persons who have invested in a sector because they have
yeah,
direct investment in the sector. So the growth of the sector itself doesn't mean that everybody within the sector is impacted. So, for instance, if I'm a hotel owner and I own the hotel, my and there's a 1% or 5% growth in the hotel industry, I feel it. But the person who is the cleaner or or the bartender in the hotel may not feel the growth, but there was growth, and there is. So it's very difficult for everybody within a country or a sector to feel the growth of the sector. Very,
Okay.
very difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
understand that. I just feel like okay, maybe okay. In the sense of like you explaining that to me and I didn't really know, right? I sure like people saw that post and commented on that thinking, well, okay, well, oh, we had economic growth, but we don't see it and blah blah blah. So I just feel like
No, but in terms of not seeing it, it's very simple to justify the economic growth of Dominica, in terms of what is ongoing on. Currently, we have the biggest infrastructure project going on in the history of Dominica, which is the airport. That alone causes economic growth because it's couple billions of dollars being spent. But like I said again, if you're not involved in the hotel or in the airport aviation sector, you not
yeah,
feel that. That's it's something simple similar to that. So it's about, I'd say that, finding ways to spread the bread. Um, Maybe investing some of that monies from the growth back into sectors that touch everybody. So probably in terms of reinvesting monies in maybe agriculture, maybe fishing, maybe in developing our road networks, things that will touch everybody. That you understand? But
yeah,
in terms of the sectors themselves, um, it just especially major sectors, tourism, agriculture, and so they can be the growth in those sectors can cause the entire economy to expand, but not everybody feeling the expansion. It doesn't mean that there's no growth. It just means that you're not benefiting from the growth, but there is actual growth. And people mention things. Yes, truly. In terms of, yes, it's difficult to live here. It's a struggle a lot of the times. But the economy has grown. If you just look at the ongoing projects, and that's what they measure by the impact of the major projects and foreign exchange earnings and so forth. So that's what they measure the our economy into law, if it's growing or not, what are the measures. And if we just look at the examples, there are major projects going on all over the country. So
yeah.
it will impact whether or not there is growth is being measured, or if there's actual growth.
Yeah, well, I mean, all I can say is I hope that as certain sectors grow, for example, tourism, that the people that actually work in the industry will really benefit, in terms of salary and so. But it seems like even if you get a job in these sectors, again, if they probably according to how much they paying and so, it's still probably just feeling like you in the same you
But
still
that's what, like I was saying, that's across the board from any country. The people who benefit from a sector are those who invest in the sector. The everyday worker doesn't really feel the growth of the sector. Um, yes, you may get an increase in salary, 1%, 2%, 3%, whatever it is, but that is not really you may get that change there, 1% there, and then tomorrow, social security is increased by 0.5%, takes your half your percentage. So it doesn't you don't really feel the growth at these levels. The level the growth the where you feel the growth is at the upper level, the investor level. Those who so that I'm talking about in terms of a sector and an industry and a nation.
mm,
So the everyday daily worker will not feel the growth of the sector unless if the boss man is very, very generous and he spreads the bread. Then that's yes, but in terms of you hardly find that these things are happening.
oh, okay, okay.
So maybe
Because
what like I was saying, maybe what we need to do, or find ways for the that growth to spill over into other areas. So yeah, but in terms of what I foresee, it's going to be a few years before that can happen. Particularly because we have a lot of major investments occurring where I feel the emphasis will be on the geothermal plant, the the airport. So those things are what I quote unquote the country priorities at the moment. So other areas may lack. lag behind in terms of attention for the foreseeable future. Whether or not that is correct or that is right is up for discussion. But I just believe that's what we are seeing right now.
Yeah. Okay, well, that was informative even for me because that wasn't something I'd really know about. Again, if you probably didn't do, certain subjects in school or whatnot, I mean, these things wouldn't automatically be understood. So I hope all those who are with us found this informative as well and maybe got some ideas to take back to their community
Maybe what
about.
we can do is probably get somebody more versed in economics or something to come back on our program to discuss the economy, what GDP is, maybe someone that can simplify it in layman's terms, that kind of thing, so that persons who hear the sound of our voice can understand better what actually GDP growth means and how it can impact them and how it impacts them.
Right. Okay, guys, so we've come to the end of our discussion tonight. I hope you found it again informative and inspiring, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Yeah, thanks for
Stay
joining us once again. Yeah,
saying good night.
good
And
night.
again, if you have any suggestions or comments, feel free to reach out to us on social media.
Yeah, good night. Good night.